in the bottom right. In the red here, vanquishing the last American hope, he is MaxPax. And of course, his glorious opponent in the upper left, in the blue. Man, he was always in the top 4 of these things, always in the finals of these things for Kaizi Gaming. Solar. You know, another player like that, you talk about Zest and Solar are similar in that they can be the best players ever or only kind of Rogue, I think, exemplifies that more than any other player. Because if you look at him, he wins his 1 GSL a year, and then he's kind of for the rest of it. Part of the reason he had that stat of never losing in an offline best of 7 until very recently was because he only would make it to the best of 7 stage when he was on form. Otherwise, he would, you know, fall out in the group stage. Yeah, something like that, Silent Dream. For like EPT 100, we got interesting solar pinging. We saw the sign up technically go to the round of 256. Which is crazy. Now they were not 256 signups. I think they were like maybe 170. That's still a lot. Anyway, about this game, there's nothing that's going to be too surprising super early. Of course, Stargate play is the standard. It's what we should all be used to. And the question really in this game, on this map in particular, is not necessarily what MaxPax is going to do, although that is always a question when we talk about PvP. But the question that we're looking at is, does Solar walk the queens? If so, at what timing? If so, in what way? Because Curious Minds is a small map. It is a map where you can absolutely push your creep through the middle of the map pretty quickly and get your queens into your opponent's third with significant alacrity. As this adept is going to shade on into the main, but didn't get much done in the natural outside of a probe pull, and I believe, yeah, 2 workers have died for 1 adept. So, hey, second adept did not go down. That is always going to be nice for the Protoss player. Oh yeah, Matt in the crown. I guess the good way to say it is it's marginally easier to get top 8 for NA than it is to get top 8 for Europe. Marginally too significantly easier. But I'd argue it's harder to win, yeah. Meanwhile, we have Korea sometimes on a slow night. You'll see people like who are not capable of winning this tournament. I mean, sometimes they'll do really good runs, but say someone like Raza show up and just kind of hope they got like a walkover into the round of 16, got to win 1 best of 3 to move into the round of 8 and make $50 for the night, which fair, you know, like I got to win 1 best of 3 for $50. Okay, that sounds great. Kind of interesting. You talk about, so, you know, drinking culture in Korea is a big thing. Really a lot of, I can't speak to China as much. I know for a while it was a prestige thing. You would hire a white person that could speak Chinese to like do your negotiation for you, quote unquote, and really just kind of drink. I don't know if that is still true. I know it was it used to be a thing. But yeah, I don't know I know less about drinking culture in China, but I mean, in Korea and Japan, your drinking culture is a big thing. You're expected to go out like pretty much whenever your boss goes out, and stay there as late as they do. And it's anyway. So it's interesting that we see a lot of pro players as the queens are starting to walk. Should surprise no one. Of course, +1 is not yet done. +1 is never done for this version of the push. You get +1 air right after the first push either gets held or it doesn't. Is really kind of how that goes. Actually, it looks like this one's going to be a little bit slower though. So +1 is going to be done quicker into the hold than it otherwise would be. So we're seeing a lot of static defense get dropped down here at the third base as MaxPax realizes what's up and he's going to try to do something to stop it. It's only 5 queens for now, which does mean that, at least for the moment, this holds a little easier. When he gets up to full 7, that becomes much more problematic. Biles are getting dropped on top of the pylons, and the cannon just doing what they can to remove DPS from this army. But we are starting to see the Ravagers fall rather quickly. Indeed, shield battery overcharge is done for now, but the Ravagers, they're getting so close to falling. That last one, it does get transfused, but there is only 1 transfuse left in this army. So the queens, they're starting to fall here. And what you gotta be worried about now are the Zerglings. The Ravagers, they're mostly gone. They're not super relevant. The queens, they're out of energy. They're not as relevant as they once were. But the Zerglings here with like nothing on the ground and just enough Roach Ravager Queen to defend means that even if the big, heavy, bulky units that the Zerg has is there to defend and be happy, well, the third base is going down regardless. There is nothing that MaxPax can do to defend the third against the flood of Lings, but there is one thing that he can do. Sometimes Zerg players are not on top of replenishing their queens. Like Solar honestly isn't. He only has 4 queens on the map right now. He's building them 2 by 2, but he cannot build them 3 by 3 because this was a lairless queen walk. Sometimes you do see the lair go down, and that is kind of the approach that they'll take. It's like, okay, I can rebuild the queens 3 at a time here, but now there are only 2. Border is at +1, 2, 1, 0. Yeah, a couple more are being made, but they're just going to pop out with no energy, and GG, MaxPax, he makes the hold happen. There's nothing Solar can do. He can't shoot up. GG, MaxPax takes game 1. Someone joined a lobby who was not allowed to be in that lobby, but he has been removed, or they have been removed. And now, game 2, MaxPax, he's got a 1-0 lead off of losing his third and then winning the game anyways. Anyway, in the bottom left, in the red for Storm, MaxPax. And his opponent in the bottom right, in the blue. The Queen Walk worked. The follow-up hold did not. Ragazza Gaming, Solar. Anyway, point I was trying to make is we had these players who are on the top of the world who I guess I mean, it's really easy when you have a target in front of you. You say, I am grinding until I can beat X, until I can hit X PR. You know, if you run, or I want to be able to lift X weight, whatever it is. You know, you can set these discrete goals for yourself. And you can go for it. As MaxPax, he's going to fake a cannon rush, but there's no forge, so that's not going to get too much done here. It's going to take Solar a little bit of time to, to make sure that he can deny that. So he's pulled 2 drones, which is already nice because MaxPax spent 25 minerals on a fake cannon rush. But yeah, it's a lot harder to, when you're at the top, to run as if someone's pushing you. If you are like in a pack, right, and you got someone at your left shoulder the entire time, just breathe it, like you hear the sound of their footsteps, you hear their voice in your, or their breath in your ear, then it's easy to over push yourself, to work too hard to where you burn out. But on the flip side, if you're half a mile ahead and you're running a marathon, it's easy to let up a little bit because you're there. You're in a good spot. You've made it. And then, well, you get caught. And because you get caught in the final sprint, and because you haven't been running hard the entire time, you can't turn up the speed and time, and people get ahead of you. So I guess to finish that running analogy. Curious who the up-and-coming Koreans will be. New talent, new blood. I think Percival is very much one of those players. He has managed, just through some GSL appearances, he's managed to qualify in the round of 36 of Katowice, and from what everyone says, he's the new hotness. Oh, look at this though. MaxPax, he's going for +1 air and no warp gate. This is something that Estrella was kind of messing around with for a while, especially on maps like Golden Wall, where he would just kind of wall off and mine the interior pocket and be fine for quite a while until the Zerg would scout it. And what this means is +1 is done. Absolutely done by the time that the queen walk happens. And on top of that, this is Blackburn. No one walks queens on this map anymore. And yeah, the word on the street is Percival is really going to be turning it on for Katowice. He has been getting significant private coaching or advice at the very least from Maru, because they did used to be teammates. And I think that first series is Zerglings, they're just scouting around, they're not going to get too much done. I think the first series of Katowice, where it's going to be Bjorn versus Percival, is really going to tell us so much about the type of preparation that Percival was able to get. Because if he's getting, private tutoring from Maru, who has by far the best TVT in the world, well, that's a good time. Idiotic Hershey, I'm not... Oh, okay, the people on top ain't going away soon. Well, we do lose Zest, theoretically, after Katowice. Who knows? He's been saying whatever tournament he's in is the last tournament for, like, the last year and a half. I don't know why. There are rumors that he's got, like, a physical issue that are preventing him from going, but I don't know. But I think Zest is the only one really... Oh, I love this. Sorry. I think Zest is like the only one that's really on a timer that I can think of. Rogue as well hasn't yet gone to military. Maru's only like 24, so he's still got a couple years. Actually, we should get Sue back soon too. But I mean, Parting is already retired, so... Anyways, we got Fleet Beacon, Flux Vein, Void Rays popping out on this map. We're probably going to eventually see Warp Gate because, I mean, you want Blink, you want Charge, you want Gateway units in the late game just to be able to do something. Even warping in High Templar is useful. But it's 6 minutes in. +1 is done. MaxPax technically has the money to start +2. And that's kind of nuts. So many of the Void Rays are going to find their way into the main base here. They do have +1, but it's still 6 Voids versus 7 Queens. You kind of want to outnumber the Queens to make that happen. Or at the very least have traded away a lot of the Queen's energy before that can really happen in earnest. We are going to see Solar or MaxPax, I think, at some point attempt to snipe the... there we go, actually. He's going to attempt to snipe, not the lair, I guess. But, oh, this is big. He's going to get a bunch of Overlords here. And while he doesn't supply block Solar, it does become rather problematic. He's going to get a Queen as well. And with these 5 Void... Wait, did he lose a Void Ray? No, he's only lost a single cannon. With all these Void Rays here, and the Queen's actually not being targeted, they're going to lose... Who's going to lose 2 of them post-haste? The third one, the high energy one, is the last one to fall. So that means that actually... That's big. That is really big here. It's going to be so hard to defend the lair now. The Spores are doing good work, but these Queens, they run in. And there's just... Oh, man, chase that. Chase that Queen there, MaxPax. Okay, so he's going to get that. And now... Okay, please kill this Queen. Please kill this Queen. He's not going to get the Queen. He's not going to get the hatch. And oh, he's going to lose a Void as well. Everything I was saying about how much I like that position for MaxPax, it's less true. Hey, Maurus94. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Okay, so the Void Rays are going to find, or the Mutas are going to find the Void Rays, and it is just Voids. Carriers are on the field now because you get, Fleet Beacon. That's what you're able to do. But one of the goals of this Spire Tech is kind of to pin the Protoss away from Carrier Tech. Carrier Storm is such a powerful composition, or Carrier Splash is such a powerful composition. It makes it really hard for the Zerg to engage in the late game. So you go Spire, you go Mutas, you force the Protoss to stay on ground. But I don't know that that is working out as Solar wishes this game. More Void Rays are going to be made, of course, because he knows the eventual transition is Corruptors. But this air move from MaxPax was so fast that I don't think he's going to be able to force MaxPax into a Void Ray Phoenix. I mean, that being said, pressure on the third base is going to be somewhat annoying here. He did knock down the shield battery, which means the Mutas will be able to fight just a little bit better. Okay, the Overseer will go down. Solar, I mean, let's see. He has his Hive done. We've got Vipers on the way. He's got an Ultra Cavern on the way. All of these things are good to wipe away stuff on the ground, not the air. And the Parasitic Bombs, of course, trade marvelously well with Mutas. So Charge is getting resourced. I believe we should have Blink. No, yeah, we'll be Charged first, which is not that uncommon when we're talking about like these late game ideas. Anyways, we're going to see an Overlord go down immediately. Queens, they got to hit good transfuses, and so many Zerglings on the ground, actually kind of making things complicated for the faint smattering of ground units that I guess are supposed to deal with the Muta Corruptor. Even still, MaxPax losing that, he will be forced back here. He doesn't really fancy a tangle on creep just yet. But still, 3 Void Rays are being made at a time. And +2 is just about done. So much has been made of the +2 carrier timing against this type of army. +2 Void Rays also going to be tremendously good. And those Ultras are decent, but they're going to be fighting into Archons. Storm has not been researched. And I feel like this Ultra transition was, if anything, just a little quick. Yeah, and True is back as well. I believe, I don't know how far he got in this tournament, but I think he's like 5.8k right now in Korea. So he's only back soon. Or he's only back and playing, but he's not at, super high level yet. Anyway, Void Rays again, they move in. These spores, they die in the blink of an eye. We're going to see a Parasitic Bomb go out, and the splits on the first one are going to be great. Splits ones on the second one for MaxPax is going to take him a lot longer, but it really only does knock down the shields of these Void Rays. None of the HP just yet, and that is always something that you can kind of get back. So now the end of the world is the gold again going to come under threat. This time, I think it should just go down. I don't think we have any Parasitic Bombs, but it's really hard to tell with all the particles popping out here, but it looks like MaxPax is crushing on through regardless. These Archons on the ground are just shredding things even as they do go down. There are just not enough Corruptors right now. Now the Archons, they're mostly dead, so recall has been forced. But that was a great trade for MaxPax because he has Zealots in the main base as well here, and the Natural, removing so many workers from Solar's base. And I think he gets the Hive, actually. The Queens are not going to be there in time. Neither are the Zerglings. MaxPax has this one clicked down, and the Hive will go down here, so no more Vipers. Really, that's the big one. No more Vipers, no 3-3. And of course, yeah, Banelings, they get something, but they're not +2, so you had to commit a lot of all the Banelings to make that probe damage happen. Now, with all that being said, we have 6 Void Rays on the field, so I think we lost 4 or 5 in that engagement. Oh, well, 11 have died in this game. That's a lot more than I thought. 1 Immortal, 2 Carriers. There's not a ton that deals with this, and the thing you got to be worried about is MaxPax is even if nothing really deals with your army in the air, actually, that's a lot of Corruptors, so maybe that's not even true. You need to be able to kill the army on the ground before it really kills everything. So double Parasitic Bomb means that MaxPax is forced to micro away, not fight with his entire army all at once. Now, of course, Shield Battery Overcharge means that Parasitic Bomb does really nothing, which is a saving grace for MaxPax here. And as this push comes in, it's just really starting to peter out. The Banelings trying to get what they can, but they're not getting really all that much. And we're going to see some Ultras die. They are intensely expensive. It's not 400 like a Mothership, but still, Ultras cost a lot. And they're not really getting what they want is we just see the Void Rays attempt to target everything down. The last couple Voids in the carry means that this Ultra does not get this base. MaxPax, okay, he's going to give up now because he's getting a little bit too close to Zerg territory, but I think he got another Ultra as he is getting damage, tremendous damage on the other side of the map. And as much as I was saying about, I'm a little worried here for MaxPax, Shield Battery Overcharge is a powerful drug. I never should have doubted the man or the tech path. And at this point, Solar's kind of in trouble. He's not yet rebuilt this lair. It's on the way. He's only on 69 workers. Nice. His army supply is actually far below MaxPax at this point. Yes, Classic is back too. He barely missed out on Katowice. It's now I am very happy. It does sound like that we are going to get Time and Cyan. It sounds like they will be able to get their visas from what I'm hearing. But it's kind of sad. Like, we can't see Classic get bumped up last second, Because I think he would be the next man up. If anyone... Well, no, because that would be global points and not Korea points. I'm not sure about that, actually. Yeah. Generally we see a Hive sniped with Void Rays. It's not often in the current meta that we see a Hive sniped by just a bunch of +1 charge lots. But anyways, at this point, MaxPax is maxed out. He's up 50 army supply. He's got +3 air. So many Void Rays. 15 Void Rays on the map against what will be 2 parasitic bombs. No fungals, so MaxPax can just split here. And Archons beneath means the Corruptors, they can't even really engage. And if they do, I mean, just look at them melt here. They're 1-1 Corruptors against +3 Voids. Not exactly a fight you want to take. And actually, wait, the Vipers, they don't have the energy at all, so this is just a dead gold. Nothing that Solar can do to stop this right now. The Zealots, they're running across the map again, but they're not doing too much here. Parasitic Bomb, it does get dropped now. And some of these Void Rays, they are rather low, but even still, the Archons, they're what matters. GG MaxPax. He takes a 2-0 lead. And in the bottom right, in the red, he's up 2-0. He's MaxPax. And in the upper left, in the blue, down 2, but he's made comebacks before. From Kaizi Gaming, Solar. Oh, by the way, folks, thank you for being actually active in my chat. It makes it so much easier to spend a night casting StarCraft, which I enjoy very much, by the way. I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't, but it makes it so much easier to fill the empty space if there are people talking, and I can hang out with you, even if it is on a 2-minute delay. So, thank you for making my night by being active in the chat. Makes me very happy. But this is also Berlingrad. And Berlingrad is a great map for queens to waddle and walk and wander. And what other what other travel words start with W? I don't know. Point being, you take the third base here, it actually becomes an extremely close rush distance. Third base to the natural of the Protoss player. Which means that you hit the Queen Walk just a little bit faster. It's a little bit harder to do. MaxPax certainly is not going to be able to get away with no Warp Gate Stargate. Because you kind of need a map where you're pretty sure your opponent is not going to Queen Walk you. Whereas on this map, I can almost guarantee that Solar waddles those queens. MaxPax's NA wins weren't against tomato cans? I'm not sure I've heard that idiom. I assume tomato cans are of a similar idea as like cream puffs. Or like powder puffs. Man, I was sad that MaxPax is not... oh, wait. God, I was following the probe. I'm sad that MaxPax is not going to Katowice, right? Just because, oh man, I want MaxPax. I want to see the big reveal. But also, if MaxPax is playing this gosh darn well, imagine what he could have done at Katowice. Oh, wait, that Adept can actually kill workers there. That's kind of cool. I didn't realize it had the range. It's not going to do anything. It just forces the spore cancel. Or actually, it just kind of forces the spore, I think. This is close enough to the time that Solar wants to make spores anyways that it doesn't really make a difference. So he forced a spore to be slightly earlier. 5 seconds of inefficient mining from one worker. Game changing. Ah, thank you, Matt in the crown. I do try. MaxPax in this opener. It is Void Ray Oracle, and he will go for the +1 idea again. This is something that's so actually he may not, because he started this up at the timing that you would normally do it, but also at the timing that Solar scouted. So this can always be a fake. But now, okay, second Stargate on the way. So this will be just +1 here. I would love for MaxPax to show us the build that Zest has been doing recently. We saw it on Korea, actually against Solar, and it won a game, lost a game, where he goes +1 air, but it's off of a single Stargate. He drops, he goes up to 6 gateways. He gets Glaive Adepts. And he does 6 gate Glaive Adepts with an underprobed third base. But he has +1 air for the Sky transition eventually. And while it is predicated on finding value, it's not, it's not nearly as all in as some of these other Glaive Adept timings. It's this really cool idea. And I don't think Zest has it quite refined yet. But anyways, it's a cool move. And I almost want to see Solar win this game so we can see whether Zest is still doing it in the finals tonight. Oh, okay. Ah, that makes sense, because their head looks like a tomato can after they get boxed over and over and over. But I said this game was going to be a Queen Walk. I was kind of convinced of that fact just because it's Berlingrad and it makes sense. But we do have a lair done. We have a 4th base on the way. The Queens are posturing as if they could walk, but I don't think so. Not with this 4th base on the way. So keep an eye on the gas of Solar. Most importantly, keep an eye on the number of extractors that Solar is getting in this game. We're already at 6, so he's full gas mining, which kind of makes me think that this is going to be it's going to be a Spire play. But the Spire has not yet been started, even as Solar has the money for it. In fact, it feels like Solar is banking gas. Like, it feels like, has he forgotten the Spire? He's at 1,000 gas here, and he has not dropped a tech building. He's just building, a couple Zerglings, a couple Roaches, not much of anything. 9 Roaches are on the way now. I think Solar forgot his Spire. Yeah, he's building more Roaches. He might just be going for kind of a delayed Queen Walk off this now. He's going up to 11 Queens. So I guess he's just going to try to play Dark. No, I think it's more he's going to play Dark style off of this. But I think this was meant to be Spire play. You don't bank 1,000 gas and not do anything with it, even if you're building a lot. Maybe this is, there we go. Spire's going down. Solar forgot his Spire, so he is going to walk with these Queens. But this is going to be such a less impactful push than it otherwise would be, because MaxPax is already going on that 4th base. He already has 3 carriers just about done. Queens are very good against Void Rays. They are not nearly as good against +1 carriers. Now, the only difference here, the big deal that may set MaxPax back on his heels, is this push is coming in through the natural. There's no static defense here. And it looks like he's going to actually punch through fairly quickly. Now, the Disruptors, the Robo is not going to go down. For now, it will not be depowered, which is nice. Getting a Disruptor out is really just going to put the end on things here. But actually, okay, yeah, the Disruptor will be depowered, but there are still 3 carriers. They have +1. Queens are good units, and they don't die super quickly to the carriers, but on the flip side, they don't really kill the carriers all that easily. Maybe they knock down the Interceptors, and that's what we're going to have to be looking at. Only 9 Interceptors on the field right now, and maybe I've misjudged this. maybe Solar is actually going to be able to break through here with his kind of accidental I'm saving gas for a Spire that I didn't get timing. But anyways, the Ravagers, they are punched through on into the natural. A couple probes have died. A couple drones have died as well, I think, on the other side of the map. Not exactly sure what got that one, but we are on very few interceptors. Now that's the biggest of deals here. There's not a whole lot. The carriers are dead weight at the moment, dead supply. And there are a lot of queens, but here's the thing. Queens are starting to fall down. Losing one at this point is a problem. Probes are getting pulled into the main base as MaxPax comes to terms with the fact that he will lose this natural. And that is probably still fine because it looks like he keeps his third up for, or his fourth up for now, getting more and more Void Rays out. He's on 8 to 11 queens. The carriers are starting to get more and more interceptors, but 11 carriers are on the way. And that's what's going to make this really scary. These queens have so much energy now that when you add corruptors to the mix, these corruptors are never dying. Okay, but oh yeah, he's gonna get the Spire really quickly. So these corruptors are all we get for the majority of this game, and it will be, what is that? 8 corruptors. 4 more on the way. 8 corruptors, and the Biles, they land at the last second. I don't think they got much more. For quite a while, we're gonna go up to 12 corruptors. That is just the cost of things. MaxPax, he's retaking this natural. It is a lot, and I mean a lot more vulnerable. 2 run-bys at this point, and there is no wall. He has to rebuild that robo, which means disruptors are a ways off. But he does have 4 bases, at least for now. And that does mean that this push from Solar, he wants to get something done. He doesn't want to be on even bases with the Zerg player for now, as now we're going to see the Roach Ravager move in. But it's so far ahead of the rest of this army that it's just, he's going to lose a large portion of it before the rest of the army does arrive, as the Voider is trying to chase everything down. Of course, with Flex Fanes, they are speedy boys. There we go, 17 corruptors on the way. We're going up to 28. And this is also what we talked about. I mean, with the wall being up the way it is, MaxPax even warps in a couple Zealots, but they're not aggroing onto these Zerglings. So it is, yeah, they're causing a bit more of a problem. Of course, charge is not yet done either. So it takes a while for this to be super useful. But we're just seeing Solar maxed out on corruptors. He's taking a similar approach to what you would do against, say, battlecruiser play. Where battlecruiser mech, excuse me, where you overbuild corruptors. You just get tons and tons and tons of them. And then once you sweep the army from the sky, you corrosive bile, or you spit down everything. Make life hard indeed. With the lack of Archons here, even with +1, this is not a fight that MaxPax easily wins. Not with the queens beneath. It's 32 to 13. 32 corruptors to 13 Void Rays. I think MaxPax also almost just has to give this one up. Now, Void Rays, they will turn on their thick beams, even as one of them does go down. Of course, charge is not done, but a Disruptor Shard is going to be a really nice thing. You want 2, because 2 Disruptors one-shot the queens. But even still, that forces a lot of energy to get spent on things that are not the Corruptors, which is really the end goal here. But I think MaxPax just has to admit that he has lost this base, and the Void Rays are not really in a good spot to take this fight. No shield batteries to fight over, but even still, the carriers are going down. 14 Void Rays to 20 Corruptors. Queens only have 3-ish transfuses left. Is this enough for MaxPax to hold? It looks like the answer is no. Down to 8 Void Rays, and that means this base is going to go down here. MaxPax, I mean, I think he had to give this one up anyways. Just pull the worker save. Just admit that it's not going to be a good spot. But a second disruptor here does mean a lot of these queens go down. More and more Void Rays are arriving, and he's going to take this fight before +1 air attack is done, which means the Void Rays a little bit more powerful. And I think despite no, okay, I'm just looking at this play. Never mind. It looks like MaxPax may have had enough to knock these Corruptors down, but not the oodles and oodles and oodles that are piling in afterwards. Yeah, the Spire timing may have been a little bit weird, but it was exactly what Solar was looking for. Caught MaxPax off guard, caught him being a little bit too greedy, and now with everything going down, +2 air weapons will be denied. The third base will also be denied. Solar, there's not a lot that MaxPax can do anymore, and GG, Solar takes the first map. In the upper right, in the blue, he's up 2-1. Give it up for MaxPax. and his opponent in the bottom left. In the blue, off of a really weird queen walk timing. In game number 3, he is, for Kaizi Gaming, Solar. I love it. So, my girlfriend has recently gotten into Stardew Valley. And I guess games in general. As I gave her my old desktop. Drove it down to Texas this summer. So she's gotten a friend of hers into Stardew Valley. And it's not the type of game that I really enjoy. There's less of like a quest for mastery available. You know, you play a roguelike and you're trying to learn the mechanics, and you know, there's that quest for mastery there, especially something that is kind of heavily mechanics based. StarCraft, obviously, you're trying to get better. It's a game with there's always going to be an opponent that you can fight that is going to be at your level, and you're just trying to get better. Dota, same way. Stardew, not really. It's not quite an idle game, but it's a much more casual game. So I'm not a big fan, but she's very much enjoying it. So, you know, I've played it with her a little bit because I support my partner playing video games, you know. Anyway, so we go, and she's convinced her friend to get into it, and they're playing that tonight while I cast. So I just keep getting text messages. Yeah, Philip, we got a cat. Great. So proud. So glad you got a cat. Okay, so yeah, I people say that. I've played a couple hours of it, you know, again, just with Claire, and I just never really got into it. It's like, I don't know. I grew up on a farm, so the concept of gamified farming is just like, no, please. I hated doing these things when I had to do it for real. Like, no, not a big fan. Maybe that has something to do with it, is the Void Ray is going to run into the third. It's not going to be able to get too much done, but maybe it distracts Solar from the Oracle. That's going to be in the main. But of course, with Spores and with Queens, there's not a lot of room for damage here. Going to get a probe or two, or a drone or two. But that will be just about it. And as I believe someone said earlier, I really need to fix my vocabulary. So instead of calling them by their units, I just say workers, and then don't run into this issue. But second Stargate on the way, +1 air on the way as well. Hardwire is much more of a map where you, well, a little bit less of a map than you Queen Walk on, because it's, well, a little bit further away. And the thing that always gets me about Hardwire is you feel like you should get the triangular base to get your creep moving into a Queen Walk, but because the Protoss player almost always takes the third base, the linear base is actually better to spread your creep through, which just feels weird because, you know, the triangular base is more centered into the map, but just because of the way the rocks work, them's the breaks. Yeah, game one was similar, but you got to remember that was a much later game idea, so he could afford a lot of Archons to sit underneath the Corruptors. As a Queen will not go down, but it's going to be... Oh, actually, you know what? This is a decent amount of Queen energy, but the Void Ray will survive. The Oracle trading its life. As I think we got a depth, yeah, double depth in the third base here. It's going to get 4 workers. Oh, is he going to get 5? No, he's trading down the Zerglings. Could have gotten 5. Could have gotten 5, but instead it's only 3. But okay, here we go. +1 air, just about done. Fleet Beacon on the way, assumedly for speed voids as well as those carriers. And Solar in this game is going to play Dark Style. We're not seeing him bank nearly as much gas, I don't think. And we see more and more queens on the way. So I don't think he's going to walk across this map, but instead he's going to play that style of game where he says, look, I have like 20 queens. I'm going to take my bases. You cannot break me here. And eventually in the late game, I have so many spores and queens and corruptors that you taking a fight on my territory is going to be almost impossible for you. Yeah, I enjoy the competitive grind of like trying to better yourself in any way, shape, or form. Whether it's get better at a video game, get stronger, get better at a skill. Grinding just to get more stuff is just less interesting to me. Anyway, Zerglings are going to find the 4th base. They're going to find a couple probes. Always very nice, you know, killing off some of the economy of MaxPax, slowing him down just slightly. But I find Dark Style really interesting because it seems very boomer bust in the current meta. I have seen games where the Protoss player can't break the Zerg, and the Zerg takes the map, and eventually it's like 3-3 corruptors, and good luck. On the flip side, I've seen games where it feels like just with the right run-bys and just getting really zealots onto the spores or disruptors as well, everything just explodes. And the Zerg goes from having maxed out Queen, Corruptor, Infestor, Viper into having really nothing at all. So it does really, it really is not one of these compositions that it feels like you can kind of draw even in a fight. As the Zerg, you either kind of like win it or you lose it. And if the moment your queens run out of energy, just feel like things start to really fall apart. But anyways, we got 1-1 melee on the ground. Ultra Cavern coming down here to really deal with the eventual ground transition. In fact, this is something that killed Solar. When he was playing Zest on Saturday night, he went for this Dark Style, and Zest had, you know, some air, but he did a really quick ground transition, and Solar was not prepared for it. And it was just all these corruptors in the air, but he couldn't deal with the Archon Charge Lot Link Stalker on the ground, and he did die in one of those games to that. So it seems like Solar he's a little bit better prepared for that type of idea in this game, as the corruptors are starting to hit the field now. Of course, Solar taking his good sweet time maxing out. He's buying a very expensive army. 3 Infestors, 3 Vipers, 4 Ultras, a bunch of Corruptors, every single upgrade in the book. He understands that MaxPax is not going to be aggressive, at the very least before +2 air, and that, by the way, has not started yet, surprisingly enough. Actually, generally one of the advantages of going for +1 air quickly is you get a quick +2 timing. That is not in this game, so I'm not exactly sure what MaxPax's timing is anymore, although it may simply be defensive one. Anyway, Banelings are going to run on, and even before Baneling speed is done, MaxPax, he's not pulling though. Not quick enough. 5 workers will go down, and there we go. The rest of the Banes, they get 4 more. 9 workers die, and some static defense, and that actually is one of the reasons you get Banelings in this matchup in the current meta. Yeah, Banelings are not as good as they used to be. They got heavily nerfed against anything that's not a light unit. But you can roll Banelings into static defense, and they still do full damage. They still do a really good job against structures because of the bonus damage, the effective spell damage that they do. Because I believe Banelings do spell damage against buildings. I need to check on that. Pretty sure. Point being, they do a really good job at just rolling into cannons and shield batteries and knocking them all down, which takes a lot of the strength out of the Protoss army. So now the Protoss is maxed out. The Zerg is maxed out, plus 2 air and ground on the way. 2 ground upgrades for the Zerg as well, because we're just talking about upgrades. There's not a lot to talk about. One of the unfortunate components of this style is that you tend to get to this point, and Hardwire is a good map for it, where it's effectively is NR20. Although, 20 minutes when people were talking about no rush 20 was more like 15. Regardless, the point stands. The Zerg player gets on a bunch of bases. They turtle up hard behind Spores and Queens. The Protoss player does the same behind shield batteries and photon cannons. And not a lot happens. I mean, nice run by here. We'll knock down a couple workers, but the Warp Prism will die in exchange. Yeah, there's no saving that. So not really a cost-effective trade. And the game goes on. And honestly, losing those Zealots is fine anyways, because it means there are more Archons. It means this army for MaxPax is yet more powerful. Do we have Adrenal clans? We do. Okay, so these 1/1-lings are more like 3/1-lings. Adrenal effectively is +2. 2 Zerglings for what it's worth. But now MaxPax, he's running on forward here with this maxed out army. +2 air attack is going to be done in like 30 seconds. And this is what he's been building for towards this entire game. Solar, in response, he has literal tons of spores. He has Broodlords, he has Infestors, he has Queens, he has Ultras. The question is whether he will be able to make this hold happen. Now, we do have some parasitic bombs on the Corruptors, on the Carriers. Does not really matter. They do not do significant damage to the Carriers whatsoever. Broodlords starting to get targeted, fired on down. Corruptors are falling as well. We only have 7 of them, 4 Broodlords. Yeah, there's a Fungal on top of everything, but Zealots moving on in as well. Disruptor shots on top of all of these Infestors. And we talked about a volatile style. This is what happens sometimes. The Protoss hits their max out, and they say, oh, hey, sure, you have this nice economy, and you've been defensive. It doesn't matter. GG. I'm going to punch right on through it.